what is UDL? We always talk about it as a framework because really that's what it truly is. It's a framework. We're not going to come at you with this canned curriculum with some handouts pieced together has an expectation. And so this framework, we look at it through a lens. So in our classrooms, in everything we're doing, we want to look at universal design for learning through this lens. And it's focused on these three principles based on learning sciences. And so these three principles help guide and develop curriculum, lesson plans, help with classroom management, help with social emotional learning, formative assessments, like the lists go on and on. And so the three areas that we're looking at are the strategic network, the effective network, and the recognition networks. And so we're looking at the how, the why, and the what.
So, especially with the populations that we're talking about who utilize Bookshare, we know that our students are smart and capable and have a lot of strengths. But the three things that we see in classrooms that really are the biggest barriers to our students, and we always talk about our students are never the barriers in a classroom. It is the curriculum or the classroom setup or many different things that can be barriers for our students to show success. So one of the first is why. So as adults, we get to ask, why is this important to us? And why would I be engaged with this subject? And so it is so important to offer choice and voice and engagement, allowing students to really engage in things they're interested in and they're driven by, even though the whole world isn't involved with everything engaging, at least giving them pieces to own. Then we have representation, and we're going to go into each one of these areas briefly in a second. This is multiple means of being able to see materials like Bookshare, which is a wonderful way to hear it, see it, read it with all of the different supports and choices. And then the last one is how. How are we going to have multiple means of action and expression? Is that student going to tell us what they know? And as we all know, not every student does well on a multiple choice test and knows how to take that, or it does very well with an essay. And so we need to provide options for our students to be able to express themselves and their intelligence. This is not more for a teacher to do. What it is really, like Janea said before, starting to take a look at how am I providing these choices at the very beginning of my assignments? How am I providing these choices for assessment? And really tapping into the students' strengths. We have a lot of disengaged students and a lot of students that it's really hard to get their attention anymore to get them to turn in traditional assignments, right? So giving them that piece of ownership again over their own education is really important.
Well, that's actually an excellent segue into a question for you. Essentially is just logistically, how do you allow that choice and voice of students in your classroom? Like, what are actual ways that you can intentionally build that into a classroom or interactions with your students?
Well, I mean, there's multiple ways of doing it, and you want to start simple. Many teachers are familiar with choice boards. And so in any classroom, you want to start and kind of show your students the option, because you can't just put it out there. You can't say, well, today you could make a rap, you could make a video, you could do a podcast, and your kids are all looking at you like deer in the headlights going, I have no idea what any of those things are.
Right.
So you don't want to overwhelm them with so many choices that they don't know how to pick one. But you can start very simply with, you have the option to, you could write about your book report. I'm going to teach you how we could make a video. And or for our middle and high school students, they love memes. They absolutely love memes, and they know about memes. So you could say, I want you to create a meme to represent what we just learned. And so I would maybe start with 3 options, and then you can build on that. And as students get comfortable and they understand that you're a teacher who's going to give them choices, they come up with the most creative things as well. And so many times it's moving away from and thinking, okay, I want them even in science and social studies, I want them to, you guys saw my puppets from my daughter. Instead of her having to actually take that written exam, she asked, can I do this in a fun way and actually put on a puppet show for you so I could tell you about Einstein? I think the first step in giving choice and voice is showing students that it's an okay thing to ask. And then going in and modeling what some of those options would look like. And then also asking them, what would you like to show? How would you like to represent your learning? Because as educators, when we look at the standards, and we're in New Mexico, and so we're using the Common Core state standards, and I think many people are around the state, nowhere really written in the standards, every standard doesn't say it has to be paper pencil. And so that's where we can look and be creative and ask for those response. My other favorite part is when many times teachers give a rubric or they give a worksheet, and that worksheet can actually become your rubric. And so just by having a conversation with your student, you can just kind of check the box and see that they know what they know. With Bookshare, that's a choice. Can I have my text read to me? Can I almost app smash Bookshare with another app so that I'm able to really show what I know? And a big thing we're finding too with Universal Design for Learning, we're helping our students become their own advocate. We start even as young as kindergarten by giving them that choice. They learn to then start advocating for themselves, and they learn to start saying, this is how I learn best. A disability shouldn't be called a disability anymore. It's a superpower.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be approached in an IEP. That's how it should be talked about. Like, let's talk about your superpower. How can we build on those strengths? And that's a big basis and piece of Universal Design for Learning is finding those students' strengths and really helping them use those to make them successful.